Let's just say we lost this crack right here, and that refrigerant leaked out of this head. Remember, this and this are separate. That refrigerant is only in this head and in this bowl. Now this rubbed up against something, and that refrigerant leaked out of that. What is, let's see if I can find a better picture, but no. All right, here we go. So here is where this pin is. This just emptied. Remember, this is your opening force, this is your closing force, this is your closing force. They are balanced. If this empties, what is going to happen to your pressures? So you have your high side gauge, your low side gauge. What's your high side gauge going to do? What's your low side gauge going to do?
The high side's going to go up, the low side.
It's going to go way up. Because now you don't have an opening force. This is just going to slam shut and just be like a clogged filter dryer. I mean, I've had filter dryers completely clogged. Again, you can check that by taking a temperature drop across it, but it's usually pretty obvious. But that would just slam shut, and that is not going to run very long because it's going to climb, go down almost to zero, and that compressor is just going to be screaming at you. So we will be going over that in troubleshooting. I'm going to pass around a TXV I just cut myself the other day taking out. So as you can see, that is not an adjustable one, and it does not have that strainer. That is just out of a 3-ton unit or somewhere around there. Oh, look how thin that line is. I mean, if you ever open up an evaporator and you see this touching anything, it's bendable, just move it, zip tie it. Don't let that sit there and rub. Now I ran into that more in commercial because there's just it's so crammed, and there's just so much for it to rub on, wires, anything. But if it rubs on that, that is pretty thin, and that is just going to, that bulb's going to empty.
It's just falling off.
Okay. This is just a strap. We'll be going over that for sure.
Have you replaced that bulb or anything? Like if
So
that
that's what I was telling you earlier.
or is it just
I was really pissed when I found that one, and it's not removable. But again, you can just literally unscrew it. And if you replacing a TXV is a pain in the ass. You're always worried about burning it up, blah blah blah. If you just replace the head, wouldn't you? Now there is wrenches. I promise you. You think you're going to take your one of your wrenches and put that on there, but it's such a thin. They make TXV wrenches. I had a maintenance guy that had one of his adjustables. We filed it down, so we were able to get it on there, and it saved me because I didn't have a TXV wrench. I don't do that. But we crank that puppy off, take that equalizer tube off, aim it upward, aim that other line upward so you can spin it, and it's not just hitting everything. Take your new one. I don't recommend this. I have done it. Doing it when it's like still a live charge. I mean, a little bit of gas is coming out, and I just prepped it where both lines are up. Unscrew it, screwed it on. It was fine, but I have heard that some of them, with that bleed port and different things, it could just start erupting. I mean, you start cracking it, and liquid's coming out. Stop. Pump down your system and just replace the head. If you can see it's damaged, why would you replace the whole TXV? Or you can order a TXV, unscrew the head if you want, and save that other part as a replacement part if you needed it. But typically, the majority of the time I've ever seen a bad TXV, it's that damn bulb because it was rubbing on something. Or somebody didn't put this on right, and they screwed that bulb up. All right, let's talk about troubleshooting. When I was out in the field, you show up, you got a call, you talk to the customer. Take 50% of what they say. Obviously, they say it was doing this and that, and you know that's impossible. But you can gather a lot. Like, it's only been 80 degrees, and it hasn't been quite keeping up. Now it's 90, and now it's way falling behind. Okay, we know it's like low on charge or something is going on. The next thing I would do is turn the unit on and walk downstairs. Listen to your blower. What's it doing? Put your hand, does it feel like I got reasonable airflow? I'm not saying, if you have 8 service calls in a day, you're not gonna do a full-blown airflow test and all this. You only do that if you just can't figure out your problem. You're gonna start with look, listen, and feel. Pull their filter out. It's plugged. Well, obviously that's gonna cause a problem. Peek in there. Open the door. You need to start. Does it have a TXV or an orifice? If it's not labeled, open it. Grab your marker, please, for your fellow techs. Write TXV. Then they don't have to open it, especially when it's not a cased coil. It's a pain in the ass with ripping ductwork for it. Write TXV. Now you know how to check the refrigerant charge, right? You know subcooling or superheat. Orifice, superheat, TXV, subcooling. So now, I pull the filter out, it looks good. Don't do that. At least touch it. I promise you, like she was saying, what if they were working on drywall? I've been fooled by calcium in the air from humidifiers. Pull it out, I've seen them look white as can be, and I just slide it right back in, and these are the worst filters in history. Worse than dirt ever. Drywall dust is terrible. Don't give it a smack, because it will go everywhere. But just rub your fingers and look. You got pure white. Start asking them questions. Hey, were you just remodeling? Hey, were you just doing something? Are you done? Like, please, after you're done, change your filter again, or change it regularly. It could be, I just changed it in a week, and it looks white as can be. That's worse. That is so thick, it's worse than dirt. The one that used to get me, especially in my first year, was, you know, those misting humidifiers that they put in their baby's room. Everybody seen those? Anybody have kids? If you use regular water in those, city water, and you see what it does to the filter, you don't want your baby breathing that in. It is pure white dust like drywall dust. And you won't know. The one that got me was in the ceiling, because it was an attic unit, and she goes, yeah, I just changed that a week ago. And I go, cool, it's all right, it's white. It looks perfect. I went to leave, and the unit, it was a furnace call, and it overheated. It went off the limit again, and it's like 5 o'clock. I just want to go home, and I'm freaking out. Like, I checked gas pressure, I checked everything. I cannot figure this out. Pull the filter out, gave us a little smack, like I said, don't do that, and powders everywhere. Calcium, pure calcium. If they use those humidifiers, you use distilled water. They don't ever want to hear that, because now they have to go out and buy water. If they read the instructions, it's right on the box. I'm just telling you. So again, there's little things you can do before you start anything. You don't want to go outside and start taking pressures and then go all the way back downstairs and go, oh, it is a dirty filter, that's why my charge is low. So now you go outside. You've got your gauges on. Put your hand above it, obviously. Everybody does that. It's super hot. Well, take a peek at your coils. If a water hose is right there, just hit it real quick. Turn it off, hit it real quick, turn it back on. We didn't really charge a customer for that if the water was right there. Now, I know it's not just cottonwood. Cottonwood, brush it or rinse it right off. If I have to actually put chemicals and drag a hose around, okay, I'm gonna charge you to clean your coils. But if you can just hit it with a hose real quick, turn it on, give it 5 minutes to dry off, you're ruling out a lot before you even start. So, that being said, what do we, with a TXV, to check your charge, we check subcooling. Again, that is to just, all that is making sure liquid is all the way up to it. That is what we do. Check your high side gauge, convert it on your chart to get your saturation temperature. Again, I use an app. Take your liquid line temp, the clamp, line temp minus is your subcooling, target 4 to 12. That's, again, a safe number. Check, like when I would see carriers and stuff, they would ask for 4. Typically, you kind of, like again, back in the day, 8 to 12 is what you want. You can always, you're not going to go wrong with 8 to 12. But check the data plate and see what they want. A lot of times it'll say right there, TXV, required subcooling. And that app I have, you could put required subcooling, put those two numbers in, and it's gonna tell you, overcharge, undercharge. Just because it's a TXV and we're checking subcooling, don't be that guy. Be the better tech. Check your superheat also. That's how we check charge. Yes, when you're charging a system, you know it's low on charge, you're going to add charge and you are going to adjust your subcooling or up to your subcooling until the subcooling is correct, obviously. You have a problem going on, check your superheat. Do I have a starved coil? Do I have a flooded coil? What's going on with my superheat? Now, you only do superheat if it's an orifice when you're charging though. But you still should check it, see what it's doing. If you have a 30-degree superheat, that's a crazy number. If you have 0-degree superheat, you're about to flood that compressor. So I'm just saying, be thorough. Don't just take the one number, charge it up, ask for money and leave. Be thorough. It only takes a minute. So here we have a high superheat, low suction pressure. I know this picture isn't the greatest, but it was what I found that kind of shows it. This is like a starved coil. So here is your saturated temperature. You can see it is part liquid, part gas. Now it is all gas. That is not going to be efficient. That is it's starved. It has no refrigerant in it. It's not going to cool the house at all. So you have high superheat. The reason you have high superheat is because it turned to a vapor here. Now it has all this time to pick up heat. By the time it gets to that bowl, your superheat's going to be skyrocketing. High superheat, low suction pressure. So we have contamination, moisture, dirt, things like that. If you drop your gauge, right before you put it in, you drop that, why can't I think of the thing? You drop it in the dirt, and then you put it on your hose. I'm sorry. You put your hose on, and now you've got dirt in the system. Obviously, that can go in and it can clog a filter dryer. It can go in and mess with the TXV. So that's obviously can cause starved coil. That adjustment, again, you're not going to see this very often. I mean, especially in residential. And not too many people ever touch that adjustment I was talking about. So high superheat adjustment, somebody was screwing with it. Dead thermostatic charge, that's what I just told you about. If that rubbed and that just emptied, obviously that is a very bad thing. We will be talking a little bit more about that. No external equalizer. External equalizer location, I don't think you're going to really worry about that in residential or even commercial because it comes built in like that. In your evaporator coil, that is already like factory brazed in and everything. So, and please don't ever take that off and cap that off. I've actually seen that. I mean, that is supposed to be a closing force that opposes that. That's really going to throw off that TXV. Oops. So you have your restricted equalizer. The one you're going to probably see the most is low charge. Obviously, systems leak, low charge. Obviously, if you don't have enough charge to push through there, you are going to get a starved coil. You just don't have the refrigerant to maximize your capacity. Flashing at the TXV inlet, no subcooling. So again, we're checking our subcooling. If I don't have enough liquid going and it starts flashing, changing state early and not at that inlet where it's designed, it's just going to create havoc. That TXV is going to do some crazy things. So we want liquid going into the inlet of your TXV. So now we got low superheat, high suction. This was the best picture I could find. I tried to find this. Don't take this one for, so picture this blue being more here. We're flooded, or even here, or here, which would be really bad because here's your compressor. It is flooded. It has way too much saturated temperature. It has not become a vapor early enough. So That's really bad because we're trying to protect the compressor, right? We don't want liquid going in the compressor. So we have low superheat, that's terrible. High, not as big of a deal, you're just probably low on charge. This is really bad because we want to protect the compressor. Low superheat, high suction pressure, like we just said. Let's see that, like somebody grazed that and now that's leaking. It's letting in too much refrigerant. Well, obviously that's going to cause your evaporator to be more full than it should be. Low superheat adjustment. Again, you don't see it very often. Contamination of mechanical. Obviously it's got a spring in it. Obviously it's got a pin. Obviously it can jam up. You get something in there and it's jamming it up and it's not reacting the way it should. It could flood your evaporator. I've seen that a few times. Typically it is that bulb though that emptied when you have a bad one, but we will go over how to check that here in a little bit. As I showed you, your strapping, it's bendable. Careful with that, it'll cut you. It's sharp. So the systems 7/8 and lower, your bulb location is important. You want it 3 or 9 o'clock. You want it on the sides. 7/8 and above, 4 o'clock, 8 o'clock. I don't like what they did in this picture because look at this. This, in my opinion, this wraps around, this should be right here. The bulb can go here, you don't need that screw, you don't need this going anywhere near that bulb. You can damage that. You don't want to damage that. That is obviously super important. You want to make sure you mount this on a flat surface. You do not want to, if you put it on a joint, obviously now it's doubled up, it's not gonna read the way an engineer designed it to. It's designed for just that thin of copper, but now you've doubled it up, that could throw things off. Or it's also, some of it's not even touching. Go ahead.
What kind of problems can start if someone puts it on exactly the top or exactly the bottom?
I'll get to that just in a minute. I was actually gonna ask you guys what you think. So now, do not mount on the top or the bottom. Can anyone think of any reason why you wouldn't want it on the top or the bottom?
Heat rises.
What's that?
Heat rises.
There's the one for the top. Heat rises. What could be something for the bottom? It could have, refrigerant has oil in it. Oil rests. So if you have a little tiny bit of oil, let's just say, that's creating a buffer. These TXVs are designed for perfect conditions. Again, you gotta rule out your airflow, you gotta rule out all that, and now before you condemn a TXV, you need to make sure all that is ruled out. Now you're checking your TXV. That's when you check your airflow and make sure it's right before you condemn a TXV. Because you don't want to replace a TXV, they're a pain in the ass. So again, bulb location, not here. Please, don't over tighten this. Tighten it until you grab that bulb and you see if you can move it. It's just got airflow going across it through a coil. It ain't gonna blow away. But if you do it too loose, now that bulb comes off, it's gonna create chaos. It is not designed to do that. We'll go over that here. Next, absolutely.
So, mounting those, inside the cabinet, outside the cabinet, what's recommended? I know
It's usually inside the cabinet.
Inside the cabinet.
Usually factory already has that done for you. Just leave it where the factory has it. They usually like it where they like it. I'm starting to see more and more weird stuff. They've always said to us that your equalizing tube, I just got into this with Mark Ham. Everything I researched in my life on that, it goes bulb, or it goes evap coil, suction line, bulb, equalizing tube. I'm literally teaching that in the class and he goes, the guy that's 50 years experience knows more than me, he goes, that is not always the case, blah, blah, blah. Sure enough, I go out there to find the scratch and dent unit I need for this project we're building for the lab. I look down, sure enough, I just wanted to check it. It was the opposite. But again, that's factory design. So if you see a bulb where it is, please put it back exactly the way they had it. But
Yeah, instantly.
so I was always raised by anybody that's ever taught me anything. You wrap it. You wrap it. We were at the expo just recently in Sandusky that we have, and I'm standing there next to our equipment that we all had to unpack, and I look down on this evap coil. It's factory not wrapped. You know how many of my installers I've yelled at over the years, and now I have to pretty much call and apologize? Well, I call them and I'm like, why are you not wrapping this? You know, because they used to come pre-wrapped from factory. I go, I'm finding these bulbs not wrapped. So I look down, I see this, and it's not wrapped from factory, and I'm like, well, it used to be like that. I took a tour of Armstrong, and I asked them that, and they go, we discovered over the years it's just not as big of a deal. There are certain companies you will see do it. In my opinion, wrap it. It ain't gonna hurt. You don't need the air going across it. You want it to just read that line temp, but I don't know why. I'm not an engineer. I'm not that smart. I know how to fix them. I don't know how to build them. I have seen them not wrapped. So if you see it not wrapped, and you feel like wrapping it, wrap it. I think that's a better tech. Get some foam tape out, wrap it. That's an excellent question. All right, hunting. Hunting is when this thing is just off kilter. Something is wrong. Like you have a low load. You know, now your evaporator is just filled. It's all the way, maybe even so saturated it's up to the equalizing tube. It's just not, it's overcharged or something like that. It's not doing what it's supposed to do to act the way it's supposed to act, the way it's supposed to be engineered. Something is wrong, and this thing is just, it's supposed to be slow. It is supposed to be balanced. Now it's freaking out a little bit. So you have an oversized TXV. Please don't do that. Call Amos, talk to your salesman, give them the model and serial. Not saying they're always perfect, not saying whoever picks the parts are always perfect. I've definitely had it. Please don't get mad at people picking parts. I always told my apprentices, people make mistakes. They give you the wrong part. But if it's oversized, obviously it's gonna put too much refrigerant, not enough. It's not designed for that system. Oil logging, you got a little oil backfed into your evaporator. Obviously that's gonna throw some things off. Like we talked about, it could be a little bit too much oil, and now that bulb has an insulator. It's not reading the temperature it's supposed to read, so it's not gonna react the way it's designed. So that TXV is gonna start hunting. Poor airflow, similar to low load, it's gonna start to ice up. It's just a full evaporator, it's just gonna cause issues. And poor refrigerant distribution. So you see after the TXV, it goes into different distributors. Let's just say one or two, those are kinked, they're bent wrong, they're just pinched shut.
The hunting, I heard, is it hunting caused by a bad TXV too?
Absolutely. I mean, if you can rule some of these things out, and it's still hunting, it's still freaking out. Again, contaminants, overcharge. There's so many things it can cause. This thing is designed to have a certain amount of refrigerant, certain amount of temperature, certain amount of airflow inside and out to be perfect. Well, that's why you as a tech should just start being thorough. Start with your filters, start with your coil outside, start with your superheating subcooling, then start whittling it down, little at a time, what it can be. So, poor refrigerant distribution, if two or three of those are blocked, and now it's supposed to distribute to your coil accordingly, but some of them are blocked, obviously that's going to throw some things off. Identifying the dead element, like I said, this to me is the most common. This is, that just slams shut. It's usually pretty obvious because your pressure's going to be here and here. It's almost zero and it's almost like 400. It's just crazy. Again, you can take if it'll run long enough, you can take a temperature drop. The first place I would always go is your liquid line dryer first. Take your temp drop across, anything more than 3 or 4 degrees, place that liquid line, start there, see where it goes. More than likely, That's usually what I see way more than I do, it losing its bulb. Test your bulb, like you guys were saying. I always like when I had an apprentice because it made this a lot easier. So if you're testing your bulb, take it off, warm it in your hand, see what the pressures are doing. That's when it comes with the phone call to your apprentice outside. Hey, what's it doing? I look for it to react, period. If you take it off and you put it in ice water or you warm it up and nothing happens, it's done. Either that bulb charge is gone or that TXV is gummed up. I have used this method and decided that it was mechanically bad. It is not reacting at all. Nothing happened. When you put it in ice water, you're making it colder than it's ever going to be. You should see it open up, and if you warm it up, you should see it start to close. So that's a good way to check a TXV. I'm sure any of you have ever worked on one, you've done this before. I've never really done this. I don't really ever see a reason why, but you can isolate the refrigerant, pump it down. If it has that removable head, you can remove it, kind of take a look at it, see if that pin is working right. You can see if it looks damaged, but like I said, it's a lot easier just to test it with the cold and hot water method. And that's about all I got for you on TXVs. If you have any more questions, I'm willing to answer them, and if not, we can go downstairs and we can open up an EVAP and take a peek. So, any questions?
If something, you drop your gauge and it's full of dirt and you go to test the line and something gets past that filter, and can it actually get in there and like
100%.
jam it up?
That's exactly what, it was talking about causes and reasons, contamination. It can gum that up, it can mess that up. Now it can't, there could be wax, there could be sludged oil, there could be different refrigerants that don't belong in there.
Now, if it has the removable top, would it make more sense to just replace it, or could you actually
No,
go
because
in there
remember-
and get it out?
Now remember, the removable top has nothing to do except for that opposing pressure, that flexing of the diaphragm. It has nothing to do with what goes on in here.
Okay.
These are completely separated. This is, anything that would contaminate it would never touch this whatsoever. Picture this being completely separate from this. All this is a diaphragm that flexes and doesn't flex.
So if it
Flexes,
was to
doesn't-
have a jam or something, it would just be replacement.
Well, I would start with getting rid of all the refrigerant. You've got contaminants in there, it's gotta go. Sir, I'm sorry, I don't know the previous tech, I don't know, but we need to remove all this refrigerant and start from scratch. Weigh it in, adjust your subcooling, when you charge it, you're an installer, you do all the math per your line. Obviously read the book, it'll tell you how to charge it by weighing it in. That's where I would start. Adjust your subcooling and check your superheat and see what happens. If it did permanent damage, pump all that new refrigerant down and replace your TXV because it's mechanically, it's messed up.
Okay.
So, but again, it's not going to be this very often, I promise you. Unless you just see this rub through, be thorough, start with airflow, airflow outside and in, make sure your fan's working, make sure your coils are clean. Again, if you could just rinse them off real quick, give it 5 minutes, that's what I always did. If you think it's dirty whatsoever. How often do they do maintenance? I mean, you go to a 20-year-old unit, you can look at it and go, it's clean, but you put your hand above it, and it's like a hot blow dryer on low, like just high heat. Sir, I'm gonna have to put some chemicals on. You'd be surprised what 20 years of dirt that's in between those fins that you can't even see.
One time I saw a job, somebody put a wrong fan blade on, and it messed up the airflow.
And that's why I said, you go behind bad techs, those are the ones that'll get you. I mean, if you're doing your due diligence and you're ruling out everything, something like that has just been pissed me off, because how long is that going to take you to figure out a bad family? I've been there. Trust me, I've been there. Yeah, a lot of things can throw things off.
The head pressure will be high if it's running, if it's moving air slow. High head pressure.
I mean, so again, just to start with the basics, be thorough, touch the filter, make sure it's actually clean, put your hand on the register, don't get crazy. Oh, that feels pretty decent. Temperature drop across your evaporator, obviously, like they said, 18 to 20, sure. From what I'm hearing, just saying, things are changing, with all this modulating stuff. It might not be that anymore. It can easily be lower with certain applications. I'm not trying to blow your mind here. You don't have to worry about that. Just do what you're doing right now. But it could be higher or lower. Just always read the books, especially with all these new circuit boards, all this new fancy stuff, the modulating motors outside and inside. Just read the books, check your dip switches, and it'll get easier. This is all the new stuff just came out. The new refrigerant and the RDS boards and all that. Have you guys dealt with those much yet?
Yeah, the RDS.
It's not. I was in the field. I had never worked on them because our installers were starting to put them in, but I hadn't done great. Came here, we started building those labs. I wired up, 12 of them. It isn't that terrible. It's just another step in between. Thermostat to this, the sensor plugs in, and then this just goes down, and you put the wires where they always would go, R, W, whatever. It's not that terrible. The things to look for with those is, that can piss me off a little bit, is that delay. If you start off, now some of them have that where you can skip that purge. Because the first time I saw it drop out R, and I was trying to start up all those units downstairs, I'm going, I don't have R. Like, what the hell? I test everything, and I'm like, it should be there. Somebody goes, oh no, that particular brand, Armstrong will say, so we have a Luxair lab too, and it doesn't do that. It just removes R for 5 minutes. Your thermostat goes blank for 5 minutes, but there is a way to bypass that.
On Linux is 7 minutes.
I thought it was bad enough with carrier back in the day when you kill power and you're waiting at 120 seconds, and 120 seconds, and you have somewhere to be, you're just, oh my God, come on. So, let's head down to the lab. I think we got about, if we make this quick, we can